Adrian College Media Production House provides opportunities for students to learn and grow live on the airwaves, just like Matt Kibbe.
I've gotten a chance to create a relationship with coaches and teams and learn more from people instead of trying to teach myself something. Got an opportunity to expand my knowledge of sports, hone in on my skills as a broadcaster, and learn about equipment in different ways. You get more of a connection with professors as well.
Providing opportunities, growing leadership. The Adrian College Media Production House. Thanks for tuning in.
Good morning. I would like to welcome all of our in-person and our virtual attendees to today's 2021 Ribbons of Excellence Day Conference. I am Dr. Elizabeth McGaw. I am the director of our Ribbons of Excellence Day Conference. I'm so happy to be here today, especially after not being able to hold this conference last year. It's been 2 years since we've been able to celebrate our students' academic achievements. So on behalf of the Ribbons of Excellence Committee, I would like to thank all of the faculty and staff and students and the family members for your support in preparation that made today possible. As many of you know, the history of the Ribbons of Excellence Day program lies in the cane ceremony tradition of tying a ribbon with the names of the graduates to the shepherd's crook. This tradition has been carried on since 1887. In 2007, the academic community at Adrian College developed its academic vision of the Ribbons of Excellence program. The Ribbons of Excellence are what each and every member of our community strives for and what we want Adrian College to be known for. The ribbons are caring for humanity and the world, learning throughout a lifetime, thinking critically, crossing boundaries and disciplines, and developing creativity. To conceptualize these ribbons even further, an explanation was developed to further define each ribbon. Caring for humanity in the world includes making socially responsible decisions, providing service to local and global communities, and interacting positively with persons of diverse cultures and backgrounds. Learning throughout a lifetime consists of continuing to ask important questions, pursuing knowledge in each new age, and remaining open to new learning experiences. Thinking critically is developing critical habits of the mind, exploring multiple points of view, raising thoughtful questions, and identifying problems and solutions. Crossing boundaries and disciplines includes developing literacy in multiple fields, personifying the liberal arts experience, and making connections across disciplines. Developing creativity is engaging in creative arts, developing creative talents and skills, and recognizing and enjoying figurative expression. You'll notice several green accents throughout your materials today, and that is the color of this year's theme ribbon of Thinking Critically. Through today's conference, we strive to achieve this goal of making the vision of Ribbons of Excellence a reality. Students have embarked in research and other projects to think critically and tie these ribbons back to their lives and not just the shepherd's crook. We also strive to achieve learning throughout a lifetime by inviting community members, faculty, staff, and students, and other visitors to the day's events. This year, we have 50 student sessions, 4 performances, 11 posters, and 1 art exhibit. We have 86 student presenters who were mentored by 32 faculty. We offered the presenters with accepted submissions from the 2020 conference that was canceled to consider presenting this year, and we actually had 12 who decided to present their work today. Some of these presenters have graduated and decided to come back so that they did not miss out on their chance to participate in a Ribbons of Excellence conference. We are so happy to be able to showcase all of the hard work that our students and faculty do. This is really the ultimate celebration of the academic work that we do here at Adrian College. I hope that you not only take the chance to see presentations in your field of study, but also take the time to explore some different disciplines. Students, use this day to explore and expand your academic horizons and see all that Adrian College has to offer. I would now like to introduce Dr. Andrea Milner, our Vice President and Dean of Academic Affairs, and have her say a few words about the day.
Thank you so very, very much, Dr. McGaugh. Good morning and welcome everyone, again here in person and virtually. So excited and happy for this day. Since the beginning of Adrian College, 1859, we have had a very, very strong tradition of scholastic evidence. We are continuously being recognized nationally for our academic excellence. I am so pleased to welcome you to this year's Ribbons of Excellence Day Conference. I always say this is my very favorite day of the year. Why? Because Ribbons of Excellence Day is a day dedicated to celebrating the scholarly accomplishments of our students through their presentations, exhibitions, and performances. Students across our campus have had an opportunity to conduct unique and awe-inspiring research. Ribbons of Excellence gives students a chance to step out of the classroom and show us something that might enrich our own life experience. This day showcases everything we are about at Adrian College. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Elizabeth McGaugh for her leadership in putting forth this conference, obviously in very difficult times. And I thank you for your critical thinking on how to manage a conference in a global pandemic. Thank you. I would also like to express my gratitude to all the committee members on the Ribbons of Excellence Committee who also put forth very creative ideas and solved some very difficult problems to make sure this day went forth. So thank you so much. As you know, critical thinking is a main goal for any institution to aspire for. We all know and tell students frequently that their research is never done. It's never done for us as scholars. In fact, good research requires developing critical habits of mind, exploring multiple points of view, raising thoughtful questions, identifying problems and solutions, that their projects, exhibitions, and performances can always be improved and changed and tweaked, so to speak. Thus, we all know that critical thinking is a part of our journey as an educated, civic-minded member of our society. We are fortunate today to have someone with us who embodies this ribbon of critical thinking. The keynote address is entitled Common Threads, Critical Thinking, Leadership, and Success, and will be given by Magistrate Christy Cole, a 1998 alumna. Christy Cole, as I said, graduated from Adrian College with a BA in English in 1998 and obtained her Juris Doctorate from the University of Toledo College of Law in 2001. Magistrate Cole has served as an assistant prosecutor for the City of Sylvania from 2015 to 2017. She was promoted to chief prosecutor in 2017 and served as the city's first female chief prosecutor until 2019. Magistrate Cole previously served as an assistant prosecutor in Ottawa County and Fulton County, prosecuting felony and misdemeanor criminal cases. She also prosecuted cases in the juvenile division in both counties, including abuse, neglect, and dependency cases. From 2015 to 2017, Magistrate Cole served as director of the George Romney Institute for Law and Public Policy here at Adrian College, and that was when I had the privilege to work with her during that time. She also was an adjunct instructor at the college and taught courses in sociology, sex discrimination, and violence against women in constitutional law. From 2009 through 2015, Magistrate Cole had a private law practice focusing on criminal defense, domestic relations, and juvenile law. She also owned and operated a family business. Magistrate Cole is active in the Sylvania community and serves as a board member of the Sylvania Community Action Team and is a member of Sylvania Rotary. Magistrate Cole and her husband Sam have 3 children, Josie, Cole, and Cooper. Please join me in extending our deepest welcome to Magistrate Christy Cole. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Milner, for the very kind introduction. It is such an honor and privilege to be here today. It always feels like coming home whenever I'm back on campus. I have so many fond memories of my time here at the college. Believe it or not, someday you students will miss dorm life. I often look back at the great times I had living in the dorms at Estes, Stevens, and Davis Hall, and I am so grateful for the lifelong friends I made here. After long days in the courtroom and trying to keep up with the busy schedules of my 3 kids, sometimes the thought of going back to my dorm room at Davis Hall, cooking some mac and cheese on my hot plate, kicking back in my Papazon chair, and jamming to Alanis Morissette on cassette tape, hanging out with my friends sounds pretty darn good. Although for the students, do you even know who Alanis Morissette is or a cassette tape? Well, okay, I may have really established myself as officially old and uncool, but I am especially honored and impressed to see some students here today in the audience and appreciate those who have tuned in online. I know when I was in your shoes, getting up before 8 a.m. to make those early classes was really tough, so I appreciate those of you who are here today. But I am most excited to talk with you about the many varied elements of critical thinking and how valuable the process of critical thinking is in all of our lives every day. I am so grateful to my parents for making it possible for me to attend Adrian and having had the opportunity to be educated here because my professors always promoted and encouraged critical thinking. I took those skills with me after college into law school and have used them throughout my professional and personal life. Critical thinking skills are not only vital for personal and professional development, but they are key to being an impactful, transformative leader, and they are the secret for success. Critical thinking is more than playing devil's advocate and looking at the opposite side of an argument or position. It's being an active thinker, not passively accepting everything you see, hear, and are told. It's evaluating and looking at all the angles. Being bold enough to think outside the box, even at times when you may be an outlier. It's asking why when you're told it's always been done this way. It's asking, why can't it be done another way? If you look at any retrospective of history, you will find the ability to think critically has changed the world and saved lives on more than one occasion. For example, it meant everything to our country in 1962 when President John F. Kennedy was dealing with the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Soviet Union was in the process of putting active nuclear warheads in Cuba pointed at the United States, with the capability of destroying about half the United States in a matter of minutes. This called for critical thinking of the most urgent nature. President Kennedy called a group of the best and brightest minds together in Washington, 13 plus himself. He called this secret Washington group the Executive Committee, or XCOM. They were going to decide what action would be taken to stop the activation of those Russian missiles in Cuba pointed at the United States. The XCOM was made up of military men and some office holders in the Kennedy administration. After numerous secret meetings, this esoteric group came up with their conclusion. The United States must perform a first strike against those nuclear warheads in Cuba and take them out. The generals recommended this course of action, knowing there was a possibility there were more missiles than we were aware of, and the generals could not be sure all the missiles would be taken out in a single strike. But that was the consensus the smartest people in the Kennedy administration came up with. Doing his own critical thinking, President Kennedy asked a very important question. If we strike first, what will the Russians do? The president's generals responded the Russians would likely respond in kind, but continued to advocate for military engagement and a first strike. One of the president's advisors told him that he feared a Russian response would include a nuclear attack, as the Russians would rather use their nuclear weapons than lose them. The stakes could not have been higher. The world was on precipice of nuclear Armageddon. President Kennedy knew if the Russian nuclear attack occurred, millions and millions of lives would be lost. The world would never be the same. This would be a turning point for humanity. The potential destruction, devastation, and killing of innocent men, women, and children was just totally unacceptable to President Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy, but the consensus of ex-com was to strike first. Time was running out on President Kennedy. He only had days before those Russian missiles would be activated that were pointed at the United States, missiles with the capability of striking Washington, D.C. in less than 10 minutes of launch. Despite the immense pressure mounting from his generals to strike before it was too late, the president determined there had to be another way, another option. He and his brother and his closest advisors engaged in critical thinking to address the most dire situation imaginable, impending nuclear war. Then they came up with another idea. The United States could put a blockade around Cuba and not let the Russian ships through that carried the equipment needed to finish building and activating the missiles. Despite the most unimaginable pressure human beings could be under, because they were able to be critical thinkers when it mattered most, when the survival of the world was at stake, they found another option to avoid sparking a nuclear war and to keep peace. That was critical thinking of the highest order. Now I want to jump forward a few years later to the 1968 Olympics, when the world met a young kid named Dick Fosbury from Portland, Oregon. In high school, Dick failed to make his high school basketball team, despite being athletic and standing a towering 6'4" in height. After an unsuccessful attempt at football, Dick resorted to trying out for his high school track team. He resigned himself to the high jump in track because it was the best of his athletic flops. Even so, Dick struggled. In his sophomore year of high school, he failed to complete jumps of 5 feet, the bare minimum to qualify for some of his high school track meets. One of his buddies even bet him he couldn't jump over a chair. So all of his friends gathered around, they put a leather chair in the middle of the room. Dick lined up, made his best attempt, but couldn't clear the chair. He ended up in an epic crash landing and ended up with a broken hand. At that point, most people would have had enough, but Dick didn't let this obstacle defeat him. Instead of giving up the high jump or quitting sports altogether, he thought critically to find a solution to his problem. How could he find a way to jump high enough to just qualify for his high school track meets? At the time, there were three main techniques that athletes used in the high jump events. There was the scissors, the western roll, and the straddle. All of these types of jumps were aimed to give the athlete the best chance of landing on their feet when they came over the bar. Dick discovered, though, he could jump higher than anyone on his high school track team if he just stretched out his back and landed headfirst. As you can imagine, jumping headfirst over the bar seemed counterintuitive and just plain crazy to most people. It seems there would be a high probability you might end up hurt or with a broken neck. When asked about why he jumped headfirst, Dick said, "The advantage is from a physics standpoint. It allows the jumper to run at the bar with more speed, and with the arch in your back, you could actually clear the bar and keep your center of gravity at or below the bar, so it was much more efficient." Despite the technique being more efficient, Dick was mercilessly made fun of at how he looked going over the bar. People joked that he looked like a guy falling off the back of a truck. But Dick didn't care. He continued to use his technique throughout high school and ended up setting a record at his high school with a high jump of 6 feet 3 inches. Dick went on to college at Oregon State University, where he won the 1968 NCAA title and the Olympic trials. Then on October 20th, 1968, a 21-year-old Dick Fosbury, majoring in civil engineering with mismatched shoes, made history, winning a gold medal and setting an Olympic record when he jumped 7 feet 4 1/4 inches at the Mexico City Games. It was the first American victory in the event since 1956. It was also the international debut of the revolutionary jumping style, now known as the Fosbury flop. Within a decade, almost every elite high jumper was doing it Dick's way. He went from an unknown to one of the most influential athletes in Olympic history because he thought outside the box. He experimented with new ideas and didn't get stuck on how this is how it's always been done. He asked, why couldn't it be done this way? Now, I know most of you here, most of you students, and most of you watching online weren't even born when the Cuban Missile Crisis happened or when Dick Fosbury won gold at the Olympics. So I want to give you one more example for a frame of reference. I want to now take you to January 15th, 2009. It was a cold January day, late in the afternoon, when a U.S. Airways Flight 1549 was ready to take off and head to North Carolina. Shortly after leaving LaGuardia Airport in New York City, with 150 passengers and 5 crew on board, approximately 2 minutes into the flight, a flock of geese collided with the plane, causing severe engine damage to both engines, causing almost a complete loss of thrust. The pilot's frantic attempts to restart the engines were unsuccessful. The plane began to descend, reaching a speed of 242 miles per hour at an altitude of 1,640 feet. Captain Sully Sullenberger is ordered by air traffic controllers to turn around and head back to LaGuardia Airport. When it was clear LaGuardia was no longer an option, controllers then advised the captain to immediately make course for an airport in New Jersey. Despite the intensity of this grave situation, Captain Sullenberger was able to think critically. He evaluated what their best option was for survival. He assessed the risk, weighed his options, and in seconds made the fateful decision to land his plane in the river. He said, "We can't go back to any airport. We're going to land on the Hudson." He disregarded the controllers and trusted in his ability to think critically. Trusted he had come up with their best option despite being advised to follow established protocols. He showed tremendous self-discipline and creativity in his response. Only one other large commercial aircraft ever had a successful emergency landing in the entire history of aviation up to 2009. When asked the importance of critical thinking, Captain Sully said, "We have an obligation as citizens to be intellectually curious. We have to be capable of independent, critical thought. We need to be good citizens and make important decisions based on facts, not fears or falsehoods, and certainly not on big lies, even if they are told loudly and often." You don't have to be the president saving the world, or an Olympian, or a hero pilot to put your critical thinking skills to use. Everyone here and online uses critical thinking skills every day. Whether it's seeing what masterful breakfast omelet you can create with the leftovers in your dorm fridge, or how you're going to meet a term paper deadline when you have classes all day and then practice and then have to work. Or maybe it's a life-altering decision when you are having to decide whether you should get into a vehicle after a night out with someone that's maybe had too much to drink. Solid critical thinking skills are vital to navigating through life's challenges. I have used those skills throughout my legal career as a former defense attorney, former prosecutor, and now as a court magistrate. As a defense attorney and former prosecutor, I used critical thinking skills to prepare and argue a case. I considered all the different angles of an argument and which would be most beneficial to the success of my case. As a magistrate, I rely on those same skills in overseeing court proceedings and making rulings on cases. Judges, court administrators, and leaders in criminal justice reform have used critical thinking to make important innovations and changes in our justice system. These new ideas and new way of thinking have changed how we view punishment, rehabilitation, and incarceration today. For instance, by thinking outside the box, alternative ways to hold offenders accountable besides the term of incarceration have been developed. To give you an example, when I was a prosecutor, I had a case of a young man who was attending college. He was on a full scholarship, but he was homeless. He had no family and was living out of his car. He had applied for a job and had gotten an interview, but he had no dress clothes. So he went to a local store and he stole shoes, dress slacks, a shirt and a tie. Stealing in Ohio is a misdemeanor of the first degree. It carries a maximum penalty of 180 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. In this circumstance, there is no doubt what this young man did was against the law. There was video evidence of him stealing in the store. He was charged with the misdemeanor 1, and the matter came up for a hearing. This young man had no prior criminal history and was studying to become a social worker. He wanted to help kids who came up through the foster care system like he did. If he was convicted of the M1 theft, it may threaten his scholarship, not to mention it may have impacted his ability to obtain a professional license after graduation. It certainly would have made finding employment for him even tougher. In this instance, I was able to use my discretion as a prosecutor and refer the case to the court's diversion program for first offenders. This young man had to do community service, pay the restitution back to the store for the items he took, but he didn't end up with a criminal conviction. He kept his record clean and had an opportunity to get employment. Through the program and the assistance of the court probation department, he was also able to obtain stable housing. Many courts have not only developed diversion programs, but also special dockets for certain offenders who may have contacts with the justice system due to underlying mental health or addiction issues, including the establishment of drug courts to take an intensive approach to rehabilitation of drug-addicted offenders. In many of these programs, offenders can avoid ending up with a criminal conviction upon successful completion of the program. This is important because having a criminal conviction on your record can mean difficulty finding or keeping employment. Losing employment or the inability to obtain employment can cause destabilization in a person's life. It can become increasingly difficult for them to support themselves, their children, obtain or pay for housing, pay for basic things like car insurance, maintain or obtain a driver's license, procure loans for education, and so on. So instead of exacerbating the problem for this offender, diversion programs and special dockets or drug courts can reduce the likelihood an offender reoffends and give some low-level, nonviolent offenders another chance at a good path in life, all while still meeting the objective of protecting our communities and holding an offender accountable. Besides special programming, judges, attorneys, and court administrators have also used critical thinking to navigate through the challenges and obstacles caused by the pandemic. COVID radically changed how daily operations and protocols for many courts. Courts had to think outside the box to keep functioning and keep the administration of justice going. Judges and administrators, for the first time in a long time, had to take a different approach and do things differently than how it had always been done. Traditionally, most courts always have required in-person appearances. When the pandemic made that impossible, many courts figured out how to be Zoom capable and hold hearings virtually online. Consequently, courts discovered in some instances there are benefits to online hearings. It can be more comfortable for victims of crime who may not want to be in the same room with their abuser. It was also safer for officers who normally would have to transport prisoners from the jail to court for the proceedings. Now those defendants could appear on video to address their cases right from jail. Some courts will likely continue on with virtual and online options long after the pandemic ends. But without critical thinkers in our justice system, these innovations would have not been possible or successful. So regardless of your field of study, whether it's accounting, business, science, criminal justice, or whatever career path you may pursue, I challenge you to continue to develop and nurture your critical thinking skills. Be reflective. Identify errors in reasoning. Be creative in approaching problems. Don't be afraid to weigh your options and take a calculated risk. Take action. I want to leave you today with one of my favorite quotes from President Kennedy. He once said, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." Everyone in this room can make a difference. Use critical thinking skills to be a transformative leader and make a difference when it counts, whether it's in your own life, someone else's life, or if someday you have the opportunity to save the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Magistrate Cole. Great examples, historical examples, and examples from your own life to really kind of bring that thinking critically ribbon to life. I think all of us, honestly, through this COVID-19 pandemic have had to use those critical thinking skills, and it's kind of amazing to see that it kind of forced us to maybe rethink some of the ways we've been doing things. And while we are all very anxious for this to kind of return to normal, hopefully we'll be able to kind of take some of those things that were actually new and innovative and better and apply those as we kind of make our way out of this pandemic. So really great examples of how that thinking critically ribbon really is applicable to all of our lives. So thank you. And once again, welcome to our Ribbons of Excellence Day Conference. We have a great day planned, and I hope you'll have a chance to participate in all of the things we have to offer yet today. We have more student sessions. They begin at 9:30. In-person attendance is limited because of social distancing requirements. The presenters have been able to invite some of their own guests who have tickets, and we also had a sign-up open to our campus community. So if you're one of the lucky few who gets to come in person and support our presenters, welcome. All of our sessions are streaming virtually, so they are coming through the Whova app, so hopefully you have all had a chance to sign up, and those of you watching virtually, if you have not had a chance to sign up and are actually watching us through the ACTV YouTube, you can still go ahead and register. So if you go to our website, adrian.edu/ROE, right on the front page there's a link so you can register in and see the rest of our conference today. There's a full program on our website as well that you can access, or you can also see it through the app. So we have, again, a bunch of student presentations, and we have a poster session and a Meet the Artist at 1 o'clock. Those events are non-ticketed events, so if you want to come out and support our posters or our artists, the posters will be in the Adrian Tobias room right off of Ritchie Marketplace, and the Meet the Artist is in one of the display cases in the Shipman Library. So, so excited for all of the presenters today, and hope you all can come out and support everybody. Thank you very much. And a slight bit of housekeeping for those of you here in person. If you would please fill out the little attendance cards that were left in your pews and leave them in the baskets on the way out, we would appreciate it. Thank you so much and have an amazing day.